Welcome to the Waiting Warriors podcast. As loved ones of first responders and military personnel, we often face life situations and challenges that many others don't experience. And while each of us and our experiences are unique, together we can learn from one another and become stronger in this journey of life. Now let's step out of mediocrity. It's time to thrive. Hey, Waiting Warriors out there. Welcome to another week on the podcast. This week I have Monica. She's an Air Force spouse. She has twins. Bow down to any mother of twins. You guys are rock stars. And she is the founder and CEO of a really awesome company called Spousely that we'll talk about towards the end. Welcome to the show, Monica.
Thanks, Michelle. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So, I mentioned you are the founder and CEO of Spousely. So for listeners, real fast, and again, we'll talk about more. How would you describe Spousely? What is the awesomeness of Spousely?
Yeah, so Spousely is a brand new online marketplace. It's a one-stop shop to support military, veteran, spouse, and service member-owned businesses. You can find both products and services. So we have, a wide variety of all different products and all different service categories. And basically, it's a true one-stop shop. You'll be able to find a little bit of everything while supporting the amazing MilVet community.
It is so awesome because I don't know about anybody else. I know I can't speak for anybody else, but I know I've talked to multiple people where it's like, I want a shirt or I want like a Father's Day gift or something. And not that like everything I have to buy has to be military related, but
right.
It would be fun to support people in our community. So I love that you've made that really, really easy because I'll tell you what, I have Googled military spouse-owned business or veteran-owned business, and it's kind of chaotic in my...
Yes. Yeah, and I just, like I said, just really wanted to bring all of the amazing talent together on one easy platform that's, both easy for vendors and for customers and just a truly, enjoyable experience.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So how did that, though, come to be? Because,
yeah,
you have twins and you're a military spouse. How did that come to be?
Yeah, so I have always been a jack of all trades, as a lot of my friends like to say. I'm used to corporate world. I'm used to being an entrepreneur. And I am so passionate about success and communication and bringing everybody together. And, living a military life definitely is amazing. But at the same time, we're faced with some challenges. We have to move around a lot. We might not necessarily be able to hold a career exactly in the field that we wanted to. So there's a lot of different, variables that come into play when you do live a military life. But the one thing that I honestly have found that's just so amazing, and it's something that I feel like we just really need to embrace, is that the military and veteran community is filled up with so much amazing talent. And, it's one of those things where it's actually kind of like I had my light bulb moment, which is why I started Spousely, is because there really is so much talent within our community alone. And it not only allows people to really become an entrepreneur, but to also really do something that they truly love while maybe, having to move around a lot or, just trying to still find the right path of what works for them and their family and the military life. So it's actually really, just honestly so amazing that the military community has so many entrepreneurs. And that's kind of, when that light bulb moment happened for me, was I was wanting to start my own company, take a company to the next level. I wanted to do something that would be able to help others. And, my friends and we were talking one day. I remember we were just like driving to dinner, and I was like, you know what? Like, you guys are so talented. Like, I'm always like thinking about business stuff and business ideas, but at the end of the day, like, somebody that can, design beautiful home decor pieces from scratch, or paint a beautiful picture, create, brew their own coffee, things like that. Just, the list goes on, but it's just really cool that everybody has something for the most part that they're good at, and turning that into not only just a hobby, but also a business is why I wanted to start my company, is to allow everybody to be able to really help support one another.
Mm-hmm. I like it because...
Sorry, I took that away for a long time.
No, you're
it
good.
Makes me really excited.
Don't you love talking to people though? Cause like, oh, if you can just go, you're passionate about it, and that's good.
Yeah.
It's good to be passionate about it. While you're talking though, it's like, why do so many of us military spouses, I mean, in your opinion, why do so many of us military spouses go the entrepreneurship route? Do you think it's just because we move, or is there something else to it? Or is that just kind of like the gateway reason?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely, the push. I would say not everybody has an entrepreneur mindset from the start. There are people out there that always knew they wanted to be an entrepreneur, like myself. And then there's, other people that never really thought that might be the right path for them. But what's so amazing about the military and our lifestyle and our community is that we have that extra push, and that extra push is the amount of support that we know that we're going to get from one another. Because in the military community, we not only support each other, with life events, but we also support each other with, jobs and work events and things like that. So it honestly, I feel like it goes hand in hand. And like I said, not everybody always thinks like an entrepreneur, but once the wheels start turning and you're like, oh my gosh, I have something that I'm really good at and I enjoy doing it, and I can also, provide something to the table while even moving around. It's like ding, ding, ding. It just the checkbox just continues to go. And, that's what I really wanted to create Spousely was for, is to provide that place for not only vendors who are very experienced at being an entrepreneur, but also for the vendors that are just starting, and the vendors that really, are trying to figure out how to navigate a business and what to do, product pictures, pricing, how to market your product, things like that. And it's not only on the product side, it's with services too. And I know I keep talking about products, but services are so amazing, whether it's photography or life coaches, CPAs, things like that. And it's just, I mean, you're still an entrepreneur. You're running your own business.
Mm-hmm. The awesome thing too, though, is like, I feel like what is awesome is that with what you're doing and the other examples of entrepreneurs, like I know for me, I originally just didn't think it was possible. You know what I mean? And not in a, oh, I can't do it, but just
right.
What I'm doing is being a mom and being a military spouse. And that means moving all the time and having, like, how could I have a job? How could I have a business if I have to pause every 2 to 3 years,
right.
To move our family or whatever? But I'm super grateful for you and the market that you have created that makes it possible, but also just like other entrepreneurs like you that have just kind of shown the rest of us and been that good example of like, we can do this. Not that we have to be more, if a listener doesn't want to be an entrepreneur, it's not that like you're only worth anything if you do that, but it's, if you do want it, that is something you can do even though you're in the military. Like, it is possible. You've opened up the possibilities. You know what I mean? Like, you have made it so much more accessible and just possible. And I think that is super incredible.
Yeah. And I think that, just like you said, it's not necessarily everybody's path, and that's totally okay. But, the one thing that, like I said, is community. Community is everything. And just being there to support one another, whether it is with business or whether it's with life. I just feel like we are in a really good spot. I know we go through our ups and downs, but I feel like at the end of the day, we always have somebody hopefully to lean on, or, somebody that has been going through something similar that can just be there to help provide that input that you need.
Mm-hmm. What do you feel like, we're going to shift gears, sorry.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about like, this is possible, this is awesome, which it is. But what do you feel like has been the hardest part of being an entrepreneur? Because I don't want to paint the picture of like, you can do this
nothing's
and it's
perfect.
it's easy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like the army doesn't ever get in the way of anything that I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that's a really good point. And yes, as much as, I love to look at the roses on the other side about everything, there always is going to be the struggles. The struggle is always going to be real. I'm a firm believer in saying the struggle is real because I'm over here juggling a lot of different things, whether it's with life or my business or, corporate world, things like that. I have a lot going on. So the biggest thing that I would say in terms of what life really looks like in becoming an entrepreneur is, yes, there's going to be ups and downs. It's not going to be an easy ride. Being an entrepreneur is a very hard business. I mean, you're your worst critic sometimes, and what other people see on the outside isn't necessarily what you might be feeling on the inside. And even with Spousely, I can tell you firsthand, like Spousely is growing, and we're doing everything right from a growth standpoint, PR, marketing. I'm in love with where the direction of Spousely is going, but I'm also a real person behind the company. So I feel the stress. I have the tears. Like it's expensive. It's not only, rewarding, but at the same time, it's just figuring out that balance. So, I think it's very important for people, who are listening, that I am a huge advocate of being an entrepreneur. I love being an entrepreneur, but I feel like at the end of the day, we all have to be there for each other, because sometimes, you just need that extra support. Mm-hmm. And I was telling you this before we even hopped on that, with a startup company, it's there's so many variables. You have to create brand awareness. You have to, get your company out there, how you want it to be seen. And there's a lot going on, not only from a functionality standpoint, but also from an internal standpoint. And I told you before the call, the biggest thing for me of what keeps pushing me forward, especially when I have those days where I'm just like, oh man, I'm feeling really beat up today or something.
Yeah. Like, really? Do we have to?
Like, really? Why did this have to happen? Or, we run into an issue, or, something like that comes up. The biggest thing is just that support piece. I have honestly been so humbled and just so overwhelmed with joy that, like, I will have people just reach out to me, whether it's by email or social media, and just say, hey, I love what you're doing. Like, please, like, keep up the good work. And something so simple like that, like, people don't realize what that means, because you're putting so much into, wanting to grow something great, that just somebody that recognizes what you're doing and truly believes in what you're doing, like, honestly, it moves mountains.
Yeah, it does. I know. Like, there are just even those days where it's like, you're trying to do something that really should be so simple, but because it has to, because life is just the way life is, like, it's not simple. It's not straightforward. Some sort of, code doesn't work, or just something. And it's like, this should be simple, but then you have to email whatever tech person. And it's just like, this should be so simple. Why can't this just be so simple? And you're like shaking your fist up in the air, and you're telling, I may or may not have done this, just like telling your husband, like, I'm done. Like, I just want something to be easy. And then you get that email and you're like, oh, yes, that is exactly why I'm doing this.
And you know
Think that.
what? We all are human. And I think that that's like the biggest thing, to take away is that we're all human. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to go through the good, the bad, the ugly. But at the end of the day, we have each other and the support is just, it's so huge.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever seen a community like the military spouse community in particular. I haven't been super involved with the veteran community and just the overall military community, but I'm pretty involved with the military spouse community, and holy cow, it's just
Yeah,
incredible.
it
It's
really
just,
is. And it's so amazing too, just to, like I said, to see everybody just come together and be there to support one another, just with everything. And your friends really turn into your family, which is so amazing.
they really do. Another question I have, what do you wish more newbie military spouse entrepreneurs would ask or should
I would
ask?
say I would say asking, for advice and asking for tips and just, really learning from people that have really just mastered something, whether it's somebody who, makes homemade coffee and you're just like, oh my gosh, that's something that I loved doing. Like, how did you get into it? What was your process? And I feel like, somebody has already paved a way for something. You're always going to make your own alterations. You're going to make something your own. But I feel like in this world that we live in, it's very hard to come across something that doesn't already, we're not reinventing the wheel or anything necessarily or something new. So I think, just speaking up, getting involved, asking questions is the best thing that somebody just starting out could do. I know I am still continuing to learn from so many amazing different companies out there that I have encountered on this journey with my startup, just learning about, other spouses that have such amazing resources as well. So just really kind of putting all of that knowledge together in like one bundle, like just even, doing different Zoom calls with other spouses has been so amazing because I love hearing other people's stories. And I feel like that's the biggest thing. If you've got, time to listen and time to learn, that would be the best thing that I could say that a new entrepreneur military spouse could do.
Yeah.
We've got so many resources.
Do you feel like that was easy for you because of like your corporate background to kind of come in with that approach? Because I know a lot of military spouses just like loneliness and alienation is huge. Like that is a huge prominent feeling within the military spouse community. So do you feel like your corporate background just helped you realize that was, that was possible?
Yes, definitely. I mean, I've been in corporate world, for a long time since I graduated college. So I've really been very lucky to be able to work with, companies, Fortune 500 companies, small to medium sized businesses. And I've been able to really just listen to their stories, listening to different CEOs, CFOs, just how they got to where they're at. I've always been intrigued by, what somebody else has grown from the ground up. But I definitely totally understand that everybody, might not be in that same position in terms of outgoingness or, having the right communication skills to get, what they need or to even know where to look. And I totally understand that. And that's one of the things, like I said earlier, part of the reason why I did want to start Spousely was to provide that community base where, we're not only having products and services on a marketplace platform, but we're also providing that community piece. And I know there's so many other great resources out there. And even if, somebody's not as outgoing as I am, or, they just aren't quite sure what to ask, I feel like all of these places are safe places where there's no judgment. If somebody emailed me tomorrow and was just like, hey, like, what's the first steps of even trying to start a business? I mean, I know personally I would be more than happy to call that person up or chat with them when they want or by email, however, and just, provide them with some stuff that I've found valuable.
Mm-hmm. And I love that because like, I don't know, if you haven't been in the business world, I don't know if you would know
right.
that that's just how business people are, but like,
oh, of course, you just don't have all that knowledge.
Yeah. And then you add on top of that, like you've moved 3 or 4 times. So
right.
you have the whole, like, I am alone type thing. And I just think that's an awesome piece of advice that you just don't have to feel that, and you don't have to feel silly. You don't have to feel anything. Just jump into those groups and, just
and
start
if one
asking.
thing that I learned working in corporate world is that the CEOs sometimes of even companies that are so big don't always have the right answers either. Mm-hmm. And that's something that has always stuck with me, because you think like, oh my gosh, this person's such an idol. How, they know everything about business, or like a business guru, like they've got it all down. And then once you, start to learn more about everything and everybody's process, you realize that nobody's perfect, no matter where you're at in your business, whether you're just starting out or you've already, made it in the top 500 companies. Like, I feel like nobody's perfect no matter what. So we just have to help each other out.
Yeah. The other thing that really helped me too, and I like to cite people correctly and give credit where credit's due, but I don't remember who I heard this from, but it's that everybody's making it up, like adulthood in general, but also business, like everybody's
we're all flying by the seat of our pants.
Yeah. So that personally has given me like a ton of like solace, just like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but I feel like this is the next step. So then I do that next step, and it turns out, you either figure out it is or you figure out it isn't, but most of the time it turns out okay, but you are just making it up. It's like,
and what's been my kind of just push to like keep on going, because not everything's going to be perfect right off the bat. There's always going to be stuff that comes up. There's going to be challenges that you face. And I remember, reading in a business article about Airbnb and the owners, it took them years to get their company up and running. I think I read that they basically failed like 3 or 4 times with, launching and their marketing and their approach, that after, I think it was like the 4th or 5th year, they were able to get their business to where it needed to be. And then it obviously just took off from there. Mm-hmm. So that's something that just stuck with me, because, in our eyes, we think, wow, Airbnb, that's such a huge company. Like, they've probably always had it easy. I'm sure they didn't go through any struggles, but then you just kind of start to pinpoint those different real life situations. And you're like, wait, this is normal. It takes time for that like flower to basically blossom,
Yeah, that's true. Cause like we see the flower, we see the beautiful part, and
we forget how it got there.
Yeah. And I think sometimes you can see, there are some brands that I have followed for 5 years, and I've seen how it's developed. But there are a lot that like I'm just finding, and it seems like I found a few like just before they really take off, and they seem like an overnight success. But we don't see the 10, 20 years before that. Like Airbnb, that is a perfect example. Like, nothing is really an overnight success. It takes that building up.
It really does.
I love that. Before we go to your key to thriving, do you have any, I think we've given people a pretty good, sight into what Spousely is. And for people, it's www.spouse, like military spouse. And then what is it? Is it a dash? It's not a dash.
Dash.
What is that little?
Yep.
Yeah, it is a dash lease. So spouse,
LY, yep.
spouse-ly.com. It is a marketplace. It is awesome. Is there anything else you want to let us know about it?
No, I just, like I said before, I really, really appreciate your support and, everybody out there who's listening. Always be the best that you can be. And, we're here to all support one another.
It's awesome. Go again. It's just, if you want to be a vendor, if you want to, find things from the military community, it is a great place to be. So last question that I love to end with. What is your key to thriving that you want to share with your fellow waiting warriors?
Yes, my key to thriving is communication. I believe open communication and always being honest with yourself and with who you're communicating with will lead nothing but a really, really good path to success. I know we talked about some people might not necessarily feel that that's their strength, but there are so many people out there like myself that loves communication and loves helping others that would be more than happy to help if ever needed.
So nice of you, communicators. I'm one of the people who's not, I married a communicator, but that is not my natural strength. One thing I wanted to touch on, I love that you said being honest with yourself.
Yes.
That is so important. And it's not normal. When people think of communication, they almost always think of two people, right? But
right.
that is triggering a lot of thoughts and how we communicate with ourselves and not only being kind, but I think if we're being honest, we are our with
worst
ourselves,
critics.
Yeah, we need to be honest and kind to ourselves. And I like that. Well, thank you, Monica, for coming on the show. Guys, please go check out Spousely. Reach out to her on social. It's Spousely on Instagram, right? Isn't that your handle?
Yes, it's spouse.ly, and we're on Facebook too, and Pinterest and all that good stuff.
All the fun places to be.
All the bells and whistles.
Got it made. Go check it out. Say thank you to Monica. And like she said, if you are wanting to be an entrepreneur, reach out to her, reach out to me. We know some groups that you can become a part of and go be a vendor on Spousely, and we'll go buy your stuff, and it'll be so fun.
Love it.
Good place to be. Well, guys, go check that out. Let us know what you loved from the interview. And all you guys, remember, just because it's hard doesn't mean it has to be miserable. Have a good week, guys. Bye.
I really want to thank you for being here. I know how precious and important your time is. You don't have a lot of it, and I'm extremely grateful that you're spending your time here with us, the Waiting Warriors. I know that being a waiting warrior can be super isolating and lonely, so I hope you are feeling loved and supported as well. And I need to ask just one more thing. Can you share this podcast? I'm a firm believer that sharing is caring. So if you know another military or first responder loved ones, please share the podcast. The Waiting Warriors is a valuable resource, and I really appreciate your help simply spreading the news. So if you could text an episode to a friend or just simply screenshot and share it on social media, it would honestly mean so much. So go do that and have a great week, guys.